Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I like this film, but...
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss The Keep, which released in 1983. Based on the novel by F. Paul Wilson, written and directed by Michael Mann. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows a group of German soldiers who have gone to a keep in Romania to hold the pass during World War II. Led by Jürgen Prochnow, they release something inside the keep that starts to kill off a lot of the soldiers. Gabriel Byrne turns up as an SS officer, Ian McKellen turns up as a historian to study it, and Scott Glenn turns up to help try to kill it.
So this film is one of those with a storied background in studio interference, where the guy who wrote the original novel loathed the film. Michael Mann has disowned the film. It was ripe with studio interference that just caused friction on set. Sadly, the special effects designer or supervisor passed away, which left Michael Mann having to do the effects with a team that didn't know what they were doing. And what we finally got released in theaters was a critical and financial disaster. And since then, Michael Mann has said that his version of the film was 3.5 hours long, and that the studio cut out 2 hours and released it without his okay, and just completely butchered this film. And since then, it's kind of languished in obscurity. It's played on cable TV throughout the decades, here and there, where a few people have kind of noticed it and latched onto this film because it's been fairly difficult to get hold of a copy. This film came out on VHS and Laserdisc, and it was only a few years ago that it actually came out on DVD, minus any of the features that you'd kind of want from it. And even then, it wasn't a great copy. There's no Blu-ray or 4K restoration of this, and so it's a pretty obscure film. But that can only mean one thing. This film has all the hallmarks right now of deserving that cult movie status.
Yes. I mean, this movie for me has a bit of a cult status. I remember seeing the poster when I was a kid in the video store and thinking, man, I need to see that. And, you know, I've read about it in film magazines and things about how it's just got such a really good story and got some really great acting, but obviously the studio involvement is such a fucking shit-filled nightmare that you have to go through. And so the first time I watched this film, I was really excited, and then I watched it all the way through and I was like, that's crap. And then about 10 years ago, I'd say, I watched it again. I was like, I'm going to watch The Keep again because I remember certain things being really good. And then I watched it and I was like, nope, that film still got some fucking issues. So then when Gary said we're doing it for the review, I was not entirely happy to sit down and watch it. But then when I did, after the first 2 times of seeing it and knowing the problems, I looked past those problems, you know, and I started to really just try to envision what Michael Mann had visioned for us in this film.
Oh, absolutely. And he said what he wanted to do was do something that was, I guess, departure from the source material, because he was more inspired by some fairy tales and folklore and wanted to make a fairy tale for grown-ups. But have real characters, real characterization, characters that are relatable, that you believe are there, that these things are happening to them, but then have the camera work or the music or the editing or the smoke effects just transport this ordinary situation into a fantastical fairy tale like interpretation. And so with Tangerine Dream's soundtrack that's there after the opening thunder and lightning, Tangerine Dream is there throughout this movie and they are pretty much like a living dream in terms of music.
Yeah, but I want to know who made that call. Like, we need some music for this incredibly like hostile horror movie set in World War II. Tangerine Dream.
Well, I mean, Michael Mann had worked with Tangerine Dream on his first feature movie, so I guess they had the relationship there. And Tangerine Dream were one of the holdouts for the DVD taking so long to get released, because not only did Michael Mann go, nope, you're not ever releasing this film again after what you did to it, and Tangerine Dream going, nope, you don't own the rights to our music anymore, so you can't release it.
Oh.
So,
see, and the crazy thing as well, is like, Michael Mann wouldn't go off and just fuck up his career after this. He went after this to last the
no, actually, after the release of this, he hid from feature movies and went straight to working for television.
Oh, well, yeah.
And then had huge success with Miami Vice.
Yeah.
A year later.
Yeah.
And that is what then catapulted him into
Manhunter, Last of the Mohicans, Heat. You know, those three alone are top build fucking great movies. So I look at The Keep and I'm like, oh my god, Michael, why did they fuck with you? But we start with Jürgen Prochnow turning up at this village, the Dinu Pass in the Carpathian Alps, Romania, 1941. And yeah, you get it from him, you know, Captain Klaus. He's been through the war, you know, he's seen his soldiers die. He's what we would consider the German soldier who's not behind the right idea, you know. He honestly just wants to go home. But here he is, transported with all his men to this great big fucking keep. You know, they've got to take it over because the Allies are coming. I love the imagery, but it's like that bridge section where Prochnow first walks over and he's looking over the sides, and you're supposed to get the idea that across this bridge is the keep separate from the land, but you don't actually see down that fucking ravine until like 3/4 of the way through the fucking movie.
Well, it's because there isn't one really.
No!
Yeah. Again, you're already pointing out the limitations.
Yeah.
But they actually filmed all this in Wales.
Oh, wow.
In a couple of quarries there.
Nice.
So some pretty good location scouting there. And so when they do get inside and he gets introduced to the caretaker and his two sons, and it's one of my favourite scenes in the film where he's just like, all of my men are going to be staying in here, and he's just like, no one stays in here, and he's like, you forbid it? And he's like, no, I don't forbid anyone.
No.
But you won't stay the night.
You won't, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's the perfect kind of setup where, you know, they're the Nazi soldiers, right? Nobody likes these guys.
Yeah,
right?
they're the evil, right?
So evil's moving into evil.
Yeah.
Excellent. I hope evil wins.
Yeah. Ghosts, demons.
No ghosts here.
Death, then. Suicides.
No one's ever died here.
I mean, I like Robert Prochnow playing the Farah Fortescue, I think it is, and they really should have given us more backstory on some of the characters that we have. So it's like the caretaker, you know, how long has he been taking care of this place? Why is he taking care of this place? What is it? You know, we hear from Prochnow when he says, look, this keep is built in a weird way that everything is pointed in instead of defending out. And it's like, yeah, there's something in here. But the priest, you've got a religious priest here who's just like, oh yeah, God and all this kind of stuff, and you're like, then what the fuck is that in the keep? You know, how long has this priest been here for doing this stuff? You know,
well, they come across a message in the wall, don't they?
Yeah.
They're just like, well, what does that say?
Yeah, well, that's it.
We're going to need to get an expert to come in and decipher this. But there was one thing I should also just go back to what you're saying about backstory for other characters. Like I said, 2 hours was cut from this film.
Yeah.
I don't know what that 2 hours entailed, but I can imagine it was a lot of character stuff.
Yes.
So the fact that there is going to be so much continuity issues, character issues, bad edits and sound edits in the film is because the studio just hacked away at it to get it down to where it is. So who knows?
And that's it. It's like the first night the soldiers are in there, they notice that there's all these kind of, they look like crucifixes, but they're really like T's, you know, protective around the whole of the inside of the keep. And the soldiers believe it's silver, but, you know, Prochnow explains to them, no, it's nickel. You know, it's worthless. Don't bother touching it. And he takes one of the guards and sticks him on guard duty, who tries to steal one of the crosses. And, I mean, this is a weird bit because, you know, the music from Tangerine Dream starts to slowly come in. You feel like the evil force is trying to lure the soldier back in. But the soldier walks back in slow motion, you know, and he's moving in a weird way. And I'm like, what's all this for? Like, there's just no build-up.
It's the dreamlike eeriness of the place.
Yeah, true. But he convinces his mate to come down and help him. So as they're pulling out this well, they believe it's a silver cross. As they're pulling out, they pull out this massive, huge stone, which we know is kind of keeping the evil inside. And so then the soldier climbs into the hole, and he's looking outside, and you see this huge, massive, huge, fucking giant, weird cavern thing, which you're like,
it's a pretty spacious prison.
yeah, how does this work on the aesthetics of the keep? Because I haven't seen much of the keep, you know. And we see this weird white light thing come shooting up from the void, and it grabs the other soldier. And so while his mate's kind of trying to pull him out, he pulls out like half a body.
Right.
You know? And you're like, oh.
Exactly, and as he's panicking to get away, he also gets launched across the room.
Yeah.
It looks like he's disintegrating. Obviously, it's a dummy.
Yeah.
But I know it's a dummy, but it doesn't feel like a dummy, but it does.
Yeah.
But I was just in shock of the power of this thing, that it just threw these soldiers around like ragdolls.
And this is the crazy thing, because like the film jumps to other things that are going on, and we'll come back. But over this time, we start to hear how more soldiers have been killed here and there, but we just haven't seen them. And like, I like Jürgen Prochnow as an actor, but he also doesn't emote enough in this about the worry he has. I suppose because so much had been cut out.
Possibly,
we're missing those bits.
I don't know. He, like, of all of the Nazi soldiers, he was the most humane.
Yes,
and I know that we explain this in the film, that he has been in the front lines. He's fought in several wars around, but he is very anti-war. But
yes.
I do think he does care for the common soldier and common man as well.
He does, because I don't see him as a Nazi. I see him as a German soldier. When Gabriel Byrne turns up with his SS unit, I'm like, these motherfuckers are Nazis.
Right.
You know, and those moments where Gabriel Byrne and Jürgen Prochnow are acting against each other over who really is the most honourable soldier, who really is the pure German spirit. You know, Gabriel Byrne fucking gives it his all, that he'll shoot women and children for fucking nothing if he feels like he needs to, where Jürgen Prochnow's like, mate, you have no clue. That's not, you are evil, and something in this keep is evil, and I don't want to be around this evil.
Well, let's get Gandalf. I mean, Ian McKellen. Yeah. We need to get Ian McKellen in this keep.
Oh man. Well, like you said, they find those words on the wall, don't they? And the priest goes, I can't translate them, but I know somebody who used to live in this village to translate them. So
they're like, where is he? He's like, he's in one of your concentration camps. He's Jewish. Like, oh, well, hopefully.
And this is where you see one of the biggest continuity jumps, I find, is that we see Ian McKellen and his daughter in the camp talking to some, not Polish, they're gypsies, sorry.
Yeah.
And they're saying about how obviously all these people are being rounded up and killed off. And then next moment, Ian McKellen and his daughter are in a cave with Jürgen Prochnow and Gabriel Byrne, who are wheeling them to the words, and you're like, "Whoa,
well, they got here fast."
Where? How long's the time jump? How many more people have died? It's the same thing with Scott Glenn.
Right.
Scott Glenn plays, and I'm going to try to pronounce this because I think it's Glaucon Trismegistus.
Should we just go with Glenn? That's what they call him in the book.
Glenn, we'll call him Glenn. Yeah,
because it's also his name, so it works.
So Scott Glenn, once the evil is being released, wakes up in bed with his eyes shining bright, and you're like, oh, okay, he's not human.
But it happens at the same time as the creature's woken up in the keep.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, the film is telling us there's a connection between Glenn and whatever's in the keep.
Yeah, but what the fuck is Glenn been doing all this time while this thing's been in the keep?
It's an interesting mystery. Like, we don't know if he's as old as the keep, as old as what's in the keep. Is he a guardian, a protector for it? Is he someone who's just been possessed or chosen?
Exactly.
We don't know, but it's fine. Like, it's also fine. We know if the thing in the keep is evil, and there's something to counter it, then we know Glenn is good. Right?
Kind of. Because it's like, how long does it take Glenn to get to the keep.
Well,
he has to travel across an
Well,
ocean.
we know he
to
gets
ride
on a
bike.
boat and he gets on a bike and he gets there eventually, but he gets stopped by two German soldiers, doesn't he? And he just does this eye thing, and they're like, "Yeah, on you go."
Yeah, on you go.
On your bike.
Like I'm holding one of them's holding the other one back, or they're in shock, or you. There was supposed.
So what kind of powers does he have? Unknown.
There was supposed to be some deleted scene as well where Scott Glenn killed the boat captain
On the way there,
for
yeah.
trying to steal whatever was in this box that he's carrying. And so it's like what you said. Well, if he's the good guy, why would he do that? You know,
For the greater good.
But that's it. Like, is he an angel? Is he a spirit? Is this thing a demon? Is it an alien? We don't know. We get the whole religious argument between the father priest and Ian McKellen, because when Ian McKellen first gets there, the priest speaks to him. Oh yeah, you used to live in this village all this time. Oh yeah, you know. So I'm like, well, he must know about the keep then. He you know, history would fucking tell us. The caretakers told us that they've been taking care of this for years. And so Ian McKellen's this old kind of frigid, you know, old man. He's dying. He's
Suffering a disease. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants his daughter to be taken care of and get out. So the father's, the priest is just like, yeah, I just brought you here because I wanted to get you out of the concentration camp, and then we're gonna get you to the Black Sea on a boat out of here. But it's when Molassa, the demon, makes its presence felt that really changes Ian McKellen's character. I feel, you know, because the daughter gets told, "Oh, you can go to the mess hall, get some food for your dad and yourself." And so she does, and two of the soldiers attempt to rape her as she tries to walk back. And then the crappiest fucking smoke effect comes flying down the corridor and blows up both their heads.
Oh, well, I thought the smoke effect was pretty cool.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it was reverse
Yeah.
photography.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
but I thought the smoke effect was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
You know, the smoke monster moving around. I mean, obviously we've seen the smoke, and now it's started. Like, the more of these officers or German soldiers that it's killing, the more it's starting to manifest itself until it takes like a physical shape. But yeah, I thought the smoke effect was pretty interesting, and I mean, obviously, like I said, we know that the effects guy passed away. It was Wally Vevers was the guy who passed away, legend in the effects industry.
Yeah,
and so I don't know how much of his effects were completed, or what they improvised, or what they did post production.
Yeah,
but I thought the effects were interesting. It's the fact that there's so much lighting and shadows that when they're being affected, they end up retreating into the shadows. You don't really get to see how much was done to them.
Yeah.
I thought that left some of it to the imagination. But I think, you know, her reaction to seeing whatever it was that was coming towards her, it horrified her more than the fact that she was just nearly raped as well.
I like the effect that we see when it sees McKellen, you know, this smoky, orangey eyed thing. You know, the smoke coming down the corridor was just superimposed. But this moment between Ian McKellen and Molassa, where he's just like, you know, you're dying, so I'm going to heal you and I'm going to help you. And he even makes himself out to be a Jewish god, because he's just like, they're killing my people. I will go to Berlin and destroy them all.
Yeah,
but you need to help me. And I'm like, you're evil.
It is. I think it is like kind of a whole Hebrew tale of a golem.
Yes,
essentially.
yeah, golem.
And so I see it as a golem, and he is rage-induced and powerful and lusting for power and strength. And so seeing him as this muscle-clad golem thing, I'm like, it's the old fable. It's the story.
I thought it was impressive. Like, I'd never realised this before, but he's Molasses played by, or voiced as well by Michael Carter. Now I looked it up. Now, he's the guy in American Werewolf in London who gets killed in the subway.
Really?
Yes. And he's also Bib Fortuna in Return of the Jedi, the tentacle-headed guy who works with Jabba.
Yeah.
I was like, that for me made me really appreciate this movie even more, because he brings this, this identity, this presence to the monster, that this thing has been around for a long, long time, and it's trapped. And it needs our help to get out, but we really don't want it to get the fuck out.
Well, no, but it tells Ian McKellen, like, there's an artifact in the keep that needs to get taken out of the keep in order for me to be able to free myself.
Yeah.
And so he literally, taskmasters him to go and do that for him. Meanwhile, Glenn is obviously made his way to the outskirts of this Romanian camp.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Alberta Watson, who's playing Eva, Ian McKellen's daughter, has also been kicked out of here because Prochnow's like, it's too dangerous in here, people are dying, you're going back into camp. And she ends up in the same hotel room as where Glenn is. And it's just like, well, this isn't awkward, where they're just like, well, the hotel owner's just like, well, you two deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this isn't forced at all, is it? Like, 2 minutes later, they're having sex. I was like, whoa, whoa.
If you could have cut any sequence out of this fucking movie, it's this fucking sex sequence.
Well,
Was it needed?
Well, I mean, it was way too long.
Yeah.
Especially as it had no build-up, and I was like, she was almost raped, like, a day ago, and now she's just thrown herself at this guy.
I can only assume that Scott Glenn used his magic powers.
I'm absolutely, completely convinced it was a seduction, a magic power, whatever, because there was no relationship build-up, there was nothing. No flirting, nothing.
There might have been.
That is exactly one thing. I'm thinking a good 20 minutes, half an hour has been cut out of their building relationship because, well, we'll get into the deleted ending scene as well, and the power of love, and carry on, Ian.
Yeah. so Jürgen Prochnow and Gabriel Byrne have just been going at each other. Like, from what we gather, from what they're telling us, is what we're not seeing is that the evil is still going around killing soldiers, and you know, Gabriel Byrne has already killed hostages outside, villagers inside the keep. For every time a soldier dies, he's going to kill 5 villagers until there's no more villagers left. And so I love these two just going at each other. They're both German soldiers. They're both hard-working veterans who will, you know, patriotic to their country, but where one is just what we would consider the embodiment of evil, you know, just wants to kill everybody. You know, Prochnow is just like, no, we're supposed to be also helping and protecting people. And they fill the screen with just such great acting.
Yeah.
In comparison to, you know, you want special effects and you want soldiers to be dying and stuff like that, but we're not getting that. It's the same with Ian McKellen. When Ian McKellen is talking to the monster, you know, like Ian McKellen looks old in this. 20 years after this, he'll be fucking Gandalf, and he still looks fucking just as he did in this movie. It's fucking awesome. But yeah, Molasser has built up his power. He's told Ian McKellen that there's a guy in the village that, like, he's going to try to stop you from taking the talisman, and if you want me to help you, you need to stop him. So McKellen convinces the soldiers to bring in Glenn from the village, and so they go over and they grab him and they're walking along. And I love this bit because Glenn turns to Ava and he's just like, stay here, and she doesn't. She runs outside and gets him fucking shot.
Yeah, we see him go off this ravine.
Yeah, bleeding predator blood all over the place. And that's the thing. I'm like, I got the impression that he was an immortal, you know. But when he gets shot up, when he's on the ledge below, he looks like he's in a lot of pain, and he's
bleeding.
Yeah, like maybe he's rejuvenating. We don't know. The movie doesn't give us this, but he's got to climb back out. So then that gives, you know, Dr. Kurzer, I think Ian McKellen's character, time to climb inside the void part of the keep to look for this talisman. And so while Gabriel Byrne and Jürgen Prochnow are having this great back and forth about who's the better soldier,
it's their clashing of ideologies and beliefs as to the way that the Reich should be run.
Yes.
Whether they're just carrying out orders and for what purpose and why.
And we start hearing gunfire and you're like, what's that? So
Prochnow goes for his silver cross.
Yeah.
And gets betrayed and shot in the back.
Yeah.
And then we watch Gabriel Byrne grab said cross as he wanders outside to look around and see that all of his men have been absolutely annihilated.
Oh, yeah.
And now, like I said, I've liked the effect of seeing the bodies.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, just seeing them en masse, like almost wilted and withered and burnt away, just ash blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
Some skeletal, some more humane looking.
Yeah, those were great effects.
Yeah,
in the
I
bodies
just thought it was a great looking image as he came out, just like in shock, like, fucking everyone's dead.
Like the cars have been destroyed. Whatever has been through here is absolutely annihilated. Absolutely.
So even though I can forgive the fact that I would have liked to have seen that spectacle, I think just seeing it the same way we're experiencing it from his perspective.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as we see Radu Molasar, the creature, and he holds out the cross like,
Yeah.
the power of Christ compels you. And Molasar just like, what's that?
Yeah.
Takes it out of his hand.
Yeah, it's just, and you just love it because he takes what you would consider a really evil character and just sucks the life out of him. And you're like,
Throws him away. I was just
were-
like, that was great.
Yes.
I want to watch that bit again. I don't know, Gabriel Byrne just lets out such a satisfying death cry. Play it again.
and while Ian McKellen's in the void, he's managed to get this talisman. He starts to make his way outside. You know, Glenn has climbed up from the ravine, and like I said, after the second time, when I watch it again, I know what's down there at the beginning, and I wish I could see it more. But they confront in the courtyard, don't they, inside the keep, and Molasar turns to Ian McKellen and says, "Kill your daughter," because his daughter convinces the doctor, "Look, you cannot take this talisman out. It's evil. You need to stop it." And you know, Ian McKellen's like, "No, no," and Molasar's like, "Kill her!" And that's where the dad realizes, hold on a minute, what kind of monster being wants me to kill my own daughter? You know, how, if you're so powerful, why can't you take this talisman out? And you know, it's the age-old Faustius kind of devil trick, isn't it? It's like, you've been lying to me this whole time, using me. And Molasar even takes away all of the energy that he'd been using to rejuvenate Ian McKellen. And I think that's something else that's also missed as well, because we see the priest, don't we? He argues with McKellen and he rushes back to the church, and then when Ava goes to see him, he's bleeding from his eyes, and you're supposed to get the idea that there's this corruption come out of the keep now, and it's corrupted the village. You know, we don't see it, but the caretaker is murdered by his two sons who have been overpowered by Molasar. You know, that's the thing. The village looks well alive at the beginning of the movie. By the end of the movie, it's just a set piece.
Yeah.
You know, they're not
Yeah,
using
I
actors
think
anymore.
most of that was just cut from by the studio, which is a shame.
It is a real shame because you've got all these things building
so
up.
many characters that come into the film and disappear.
Yeah. And so they get the talisman to Glenn, and Glenn just whips out this, or he's taken out this massive huge pole thing from his box, and he sticks the talisman on the end of it. And Molasar, like, that suit at the end, and I know what people are going to say, oh, it looks fucking shit.
Looks like
it's
a Power
terrible,
Ranger costume.
yeah, Power Ranger costume. They should have used CGI, blah, blah, blah. The look on his face is shock.
Yeah, well, yeah. He was like, this is how I get defeated?
Yeah.
I just stand here and get shot by this laser beam?
Man, he don't get shot. It punches through his
exactly.
fucking stomach. But I sit there and I'm like, why didn't you do that the first time?
Well,
You know,
yeah.
why didn't like when you had the chance to kill it? I can only imagine that they fought in the void,
Yeah.
and the talisman was broke, kept Molasar there, and that's when Glenn escaped and
Yeah.
built the keep around and hoped that trapped him. But yeah, the fucking laser through the fucking stomach, the builder. I mean, this whole ending with the music.
It's the music that really
It's-
elevates it here. Yeah.
It's like a really big epic ending that just doesn't really go
No, it really
because the
under-delivers.
film hasn't gone.
No. Now, I mean, yeah, Michael Mann turned to Paramount Studios and went, look, please, can we have some money to make this kick-ass
Yes.
climactic end battle sequence? And they said, no.
No, you're already
And
over
so
budget.
that's what we got, and it is disappointing, to say the least. And yeah, it's like a good triumphs at the end, because it turned up with the thing and attached the thing, and because the guy said, yes, I won't kill my daughter for this demon, good wins.
Yeah,
It's like,
Molasar
oh.
gets blown back into the keep, but
Glenn gets pulled
sucked
in
as
with
well.
it. Yeah.
Now, I know I've drunk a lot in my time. Sorry to interrupt. I know I've drunk a lot in my time. But I swear I saw a version where Glenn survived.
Oh, yes. You probably did.
Okay. I didn't know if I got mad.
I was just going to say, because the version that we have on this video is we see the doctor and his daughter on the bridge, and the townspeople come out and help pick him up because obviously he is debilitated by his disease now.
Yeah.
And they get carried away, and she turns back to the camera. Credits.
Yeah.
Now, there is a filmed sequence that has played on television here and there, which shows. Well, actually, there's two different versions. One where I'm not sure, I couldn't find any footage of this one.
Yeah.
Where Glenn wakes up, and there was again other deleted scenes where he doesn't know what he looks like anymore. He hasn't seen his reflection in however long it's been.
Yeah.
And he crawls over and he sees his reflection in the water. So which will show, because obviously he had no reflection in the mirror. At one point, so him seeing his own reflection is like, something's changed.
Yes.
Another version has Eva wandering back down all the way into the keep, which takes like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And through the power of love, she brings Glenn back to life, and the two of them get to have this romance now.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a while, but I was watching this one, and I'm like, oh, I was pretty sure he survived.
Right, yeah.
But
the original intention from the director was to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
But the studio went, nah, fuck that.
Fuck that shit. Everybody dies.
Iain, what were your favourite scenes from the keep?
Oh man, like I said, my first two massive favourite sequences are the sequences between Gabriel Byrne and Jürgen Prochnow. I think the two of them are just absolutely fucking astounding. Like the first conversation they have where, Prochnow is trying to explain to Byrne about what's been going on, and Byrne's not buying it. Like, oh, there's not evil in this fucking keep. It's just some villagers going around, and it's kind of annoying because you get that sequence where she's almost raped, and you've seen two guys get their goddamn heads exploded, but then a couple of minutes later, Jürgen Prochnow comes up and goes, "Oh yeah, Ava, it's time to leave. I'm not going to show any emotion or even try to understand how two of my soldiers' fucking heads exploded." It's the sequence later on as well, just before the big climactic battle, where the two of them are confronted again. And this time Byrne is starting to understand that something funny is going on, and Prochnow is drinking his life away. But Prochnow is just looking at Byrne like, you're the leader of the Third Reich. You were telling me that you were going to take over and you were the greatest evil and in control. So you can take care of this, because I'm just going to sit back. And I'm like, oh man, Jürgen Prochnow is just so good. I do, like I said, it's the third time watching it, and I might change the fourth and fifth time if I ever watch again. But the Molisar stuff, I really liked that actor. Scott Glenn. Like, I want to say his acting was good, but honestly, when he's just stood there like this, staring eyes, emoting, no history, it's not like he's a Highlander or anything. Molisar gives me more. I want to know what the fuck that is, why it's there, what's its history. The film doesn't give us this. I love the visuals as well. I love the visuals of the keep. I love the visuals of the soldiers. And every time I play Wolfenstein, I think of this.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, I don't have that many favourite scenes from the film.
Yeah.
I did love Jürgen Prochnow talking to the caretaker at the beginning.
Yeah.
Just getting in all the information and about being forbidden to stay there overnight. Well,
Yeah.
not being forbidden, just forewarned. I just thought, all just built everything up just quite nicely there. Of course, I really like Gabriel Byrne's death scene.
Yeah.
Let's play that again. I also really like the scene where after he kills Jürgen Prochnow and walks out and just sees all of the bodies. And again, just the first two that get killed as well. The one where he pulls out half his body and gets sent flying across the room. Yeah, very impactful, like, special effects moment. And I did also like the special effects smoke demon walking around the crypt. Yeah. Honestly, I honestly think, even though they're probably some of the more dramatic moments of the film, I thought some of the weakest scenes was actually Ian McKellen and his daughter.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was the writing or the characters, but it like compared to everything else that was going on, it just felt a bit mundane, a little bit like, oh, you're my daughter, and why are you looking after this old man? You should be out having a life. And I was like, you were both in a concentration camp like 2 minutes ago. Like, how is she supposed to have a life? Like, I don't understand this dialogue. I don't understand these characters.
That's because the studio fucked it up.
Right. Well, anyway, and do you recommend The Keep?
I do. But, I only recommend this to people who are willing on actually experiencing a movie that is, weirdly enough, a cult classic that deserves a remake, but just suffered so many problems. And, you know, it's lucky we got what we got. You know, the acting is great. Michael Mann's a fucking great director. The set pieces are awesome. There's just such continuity problems, such audio problems, and some just dialogue issues that can make the average film viewer go, I'm not watching this, it's fucking bullshit. But if you're a fan of cinema and you've never seen The Keep, fucking hit that shit up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say right now, we know that The Keep is being remade. Greg Nicotero is helming this new project, working in tangent with the original author of the book.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe we'll get a...
Tangerine Dream back?
I doubt it. But I do also recommend The Keep, as I found it fascinating and beautiful and unpolished and flawed. The story is straightforward, it's easy to follow, with interesting characters and a great location. The performances were great. Jürgen Prochnow being the standout here as a soldier who's seen enough of war. He's compassionate and practical and is well balanced against Gabriel Byrne, the vile, evil SS officer who takes over the keep. The characters, for the most part, are well written, believable and relatable, and contrast strongly with the fantasy horror that ensues. Michael Mann wanted this to feel like a dark fairy tale, and the use of lighting and cinematography and music effectively make the film feel like a living dream or nightmare, helped fully by the amazing Tangerine Dream soundtrack. It all combined created an atmosphere of dread and hope and mystery and suspense. Now, the film is not for everyone. Critics hated it. Poor financial return as not enough people watched it. It's not in 4K Ultra. It has sound level issues. It's poorly edited. It's missing nearly 2 hours of scenes. It was disowned by the director, loathed by the writer, and it's getting remade this year. But if you love Carpenter-esque horror, surreal, dreamlike, Lovecraftian nightmare horror about a group of Nazis being killed by a golem in a Romanian keep, this is what cult movies can look like. A great diamond in the rough. Look past its many flaws, and I'm sure you'll want to keep The Keep. I'm sorry, okay? Like, this film's tagline was like a page long, so I did a pun.
That's good. I like puns.
Should we keep it?
Yeah, alright.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.